Hi everybody, and welcome to part 2 of the Pickle-Chiffon Pie Olympics. So just to do a very brief recap from yesterday, because we have a lot to get through today, there was a princess. Her name is Princess Sierra. She came home from college and she wanted to marry Prince Charminger, but her dad, the king, the one who loves Pickle-Chiffon Pie, said no. He decided that the best way to make sure she got the best suitor for her was to have a Pickle-Chiffon Pie Olympics. But then he started to kind of feel guilty because he realized maybe he shouldn't be deciding who she marries and that she should. And so now they're having the events. So if you remember, there were some characters we met from the Pickle-Chiffon Pie, the first book. We had Prince Musclebomb, Prince Well-Read, and then there were some new characters as well. But the last character that we met that's like a really big deal is the Black Knight, who came and surprised everybody. So let's get right into it. Every evening, a messenger from Aunt Venetia's castle rode up with a letter from Sierra to her parents. They were all pretty much the same. I will not marry anyone except Prince Charminger. I will throw myself in the moat first. Love, Sierra. P.S. Aunt Venetia sends her love. Announcements went out to every town in the kingdom describing the rules to be used in the Pickle-Chiffon Pie Olympics. By order of the king, there will be the usual races along with an ogre jump, the discus throw using Pickle-Chiffon pies, supplied by the castle kitchen, the 100-yard moat swim, dragon wrestling, the giant climb, the horseshoe toss, and the 10-mile bicycle race. A different event will be held each day, with the winner that day receiving 10 points and the others scoring less according to how well they did. On opening day, the king gave a fine speech, although some said a bit too long. And the first event got underway. It was the horseshoe toss, made even more difficult by the fact that the horseshoes were still attached to the horses. One by one, the contestants took their turns. They grunted and groaned and sweated and strained and tried their very hardest. Bruno, the blacksmith, had thrown the horseshoe the farthest. Awesome. You've got to turn them this way. Remember the outside part. That's how they fit. There you go. Bruno, the blacksmith, had thrown the horseshoe the farthest and was awarded 10 points. The unpopular Baron Bratwurst came in second with 9 points. Far down the list with only 5 points each were Prince Charminger and Peter Pickle-Picker. That evening, the king and queen got another message from Sierra. It was about the same. She would throw herself in the moat if she couldn't marry Prince Charminger. Blah, blah, blah. They went to bed that night with sad hearts. Your ball is in here, baby. The king, who was beginning to think that the whole idea of the games was a bad one, felt terrible. What if Baron Bratwurst wins? Oh dear, I'll only have myself to blame. On the second day, Baron Bratwurst came in first. It was the day of the ogre jump, and he, being an expert horseman, did by far the best, jumping over 8 ogres. To everyone's surprise, Peter Pickle-Picker came in second, followed by Prince Charminger. On the third day, the day of the 100-yard moat swim, that's 4 times across, the Black Knight did poorly and came in a distant last. He'd refused to take off his armor and kept sinking to the bottom. He made up ground the next day, however, in the giant climb. The one climbing to the top of the giant in the fastest time would win the coveted 10 points. 3 judges timed the event very carefully. Somehow, the Black Knight had gotten a pair of the king's golf shoes, and with the help of their spikes, had climbed to the top swiftly. The giant complained loudly, but there was no provision in the rules prohibiting the use of golf shoes. Second that day was Virgil Chadwick, the chimney sweep, who was quite experienced at climbing to high places. Sweeney Sticky Fingers didn't do as well in the races as folks thought he would. He was so used to being chased by the authorities that he kept leaving the track and dashing down dark alleys. The dragon wrestling didn't fare well either. Although a crowd pleaser, several contestants were injured and the queen insisted the event be canceled. Do you see the dragon? Do you see it? Yeah. Peter Pickle Picker made a tremendous effort and won the Pickle-Chiffon Pie throwing event. All those years toiling in the pickle orchards had paid off. On the night before the finals day's competition, Prince Charminger, Baron Bratwurst, and the Black Knight were all tied for first place. The Queen was frantic. What if that horrid Bratwurst wins tomorrow? Oh, what have we done to our daughter? I don't think that scary Black Knight looks like such good son-in-law material either, exclaimed the king. He admitted then that Prince Charminger was their best hope. The next day, the Queen peered up into the stands, hoping to see Sierra. You'd think that she'd want to be here to see what's happening. After all, the winner is to be her husband. Look, she cried. Is that her up there? Is it? In the second row from the top? Seventh one over from the left? No, said the king sadly. Just another pretty girl with red hair. The last and deciding event was the 10-mile bicycle race, made harder by the fact that bicycles hadn't been invented yet. So the contestants would have to run. It was a hot day and the pace would be grueling. All the runners lined up, and since starting pistols hadn't been invented yet either, the king shot an arrow into the air and yelled, "Bang!" They were off. The runners stayed in a tight group for a while, and then Baron Bratwurst started to pull away. His long legs were an advantage. By the 7th or 8th mile, he was well ahead of the others. Prince Charminger and the Black Knight seemed to be weakening, and all the others were far behind. With only a half a mile to go, it seemed that the Baron would easily win. But suddenly, the Black Knight sped up and soon was right behind him. Trying to pass him, the Black Knight gave him an accidental bump. Bratwurst stumbled and fell in a heap. He struggled to get up, but it was apparent he had hurt his ankle and would not be able to continue. Seeing this, Prince Charminger gritted his teeth and grimly tried to close the gap between him and the Black Knight. But the effort was too much for him. With just a few yards to go, he stumbled and fell to his knees. He could go no further. Then something very strange happened. The Black Knight stopped, came back, and helped Charminger to his feet. Holding him up the last few yards, the knight pushed him ahead and over the finish line. Prince Charminger had won! The crowd cheered both the prince for winning and the Black Knight for being such a good sport. The king proudly presented a huge trophy to the prince, along with a gift certificate for a lifetime supply of Pickle-Chiffon Pie from the Queen. You have won the Olympics and the hand of my daughter, he said. The Queen and I are truly pleased and only wish that Princess Sierra was here to share in this joyous moment. Oh, but I am, Father, said a muffled voice from inside the Black Knight's armor. With that, Princess Sierra pulled off the heavy black armor and flung her arms into the air. Her red hair gleaming in the sun and a radiant smile on her face. The surprised crowd cheered. The king and queen cheered. And Prince Charminger cheered loudest of all. That night there was dancing in the streets. Even Baron Bratwurst danced. It turned out he wasn't such a bad fellow. Musicians played, bells rang from the church towers, and people sang at the top of their voices. Plans for the royal wedding were made. Aunt Venetia insisted on giving a shower for the bride. The Queen baked 143 Pickle-Chiffon pies for the festivities, and an extra one for the king. And best of all, Princess Sierra kissed her father and said, "Daddy, will you forgive me for being such a stubborn daughter?" "I will," he smiled, "if you will forgive me for being such a stubborn father." One last thing you should know. Aunt Venetia, who'd been taking organ lessons since she was 7 years old, played the huge organ during the wedding ceremony. Although all she knew how to play was Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, everyone said she did a fine job. And that's the end of the Pickle-Chiffon Pie Olympics. Hopefully you liked that one just as much as Pickle-Chiffon Pie. Did you like it, baby?
All done.
All done. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.